Welcome, friends. It's so good to see you again. I was off yesterday, took a little break, and went for a lovely hike in the woods, and it was really nice. However, I'm really happy to be back. And today, let's do some more question and answers. And I have a few questions left over from yesterday that I didn't get to, and hopefully you guys have some new questions as well. Soulful Lens, welcome. Pam, good to see you. Bravo, Laura. MX, welcome. Thanks for the wave, Pam. Good to see you all. And I'm inside today. It's raining and hail. I had a piece of hail that was this big, and it was just this shower of noise. Anyway, spring will come here, hopefully soon. Joseph Corey, welcome. Jesus M. Gamez, good to see you. And by the way, for those of you who just who have been on this before, and maybe actually for those who are just starting, haven't been to these Q&A sessions, I'd love to hear from where you're coming from. And you can ask your questions in the question mark below or the comment section. However, I'm now finding that the comment section is probably better because you can ask a longer question. And that little question mark icon that's at the bottom, it's strange. It only allows for like maybe a 2 or 3 sentence question, which isn't always practical. It's rainy and gray here in Edmonton, Canada. Same here, Pam. Exactly the same. But I bet in Costa Rica it's pretty nice. Welcome, everybody. Srinivas, good to see you. Maxi Ili, I like that Instagram name. That's great. Sotirios, welcome, my friend. Hope all is well. Hello from Tene. Where's that? Jesus M. Gamez. Where is Tene? I'm very interested. Priyatam, Naturography, welcome. Tenerife, of course. I was planning to go to Tenerife 3 years ago. I didn't make it. I was this close to. And hopefully I'll be able to see your lovely country, lovely area soon. Welcome to my Indian friends. Viplav and Tutan Barui from India. Hey everybody, it's really good to see you all. And while you guys are checking in, one thing I did want to mention before I forget is I did have a question from a friend of mine, Scott. He was just asking, with the advent of the new SE from iPhone, that's the iPhone SE, is that something that's worthwhile getting compared to spending a little bit more to get an iPhone 11. And it's because the iPhone 11 is quite a bit more expensive. It has 2 lenses instead of the 1 from the SE. However, I will say this, that the SE camera, the quality of the camera is truly excellent, and it's almost identical to what you would find in the 11. Now, I'm not talking about the 11 Pro, I'm just talking about the iPhone 11. The iPhone 11 has 2 cameras, the SE has 1. I think that the only difference with regards to the camera quality for the SE, the newly released one, is that I don't think it has night mode. So I believe that it has something called Deep Fusion and Smart HDR, but night mode may be missing. So if that is not a big deal for you, then for those who wanted to know about the iPhone SE for photography, for getting good photos, you'll still get excellent photos. It just won't be as good at night as that 11 Pro model would be. Okay, so let me scroll through here. Okay. Viplav, I've posted a question in the comment section on your post. Okay, let's see what we have here. Viplav, if that is referring to my my Facebook, or my Instagram, if you could just repost it in that comment section here, that would be awesome. Thank you so much. Jane, welcome. Math, for handheld night street photography, do you prefer auto ISO or fully manual? Totally auto ISO. And the reason being is that I want speed and I don't want any mistakes. So if any of you are wedding photographers, street photographers, travel photographers, sports photographers, or photojournalists, or if you are aspiring to that, then I always suggest auto ISO. And the reason being is you don't have time to dial in ISO, especially if you need to change because you're photographing in highlight and shadow areas. It's critical. So always use auto ISO in those fast-moving genres. If you're a studio photographer, if you're a portrait photographer, if you are doing still life or food, then yes, you dial in the ISO yourself and you don't use auto. I hope that helps. That was a great question. Jane Jones, hello. And by the way, Jane Jones sent a request to be live in my video. And that's those two little happy face icons. And I just realized the other day I can't do that because I don't have my earbuds in. I can't hear the questions. So I can't do any more of the live videos. But Jane, if you have a question, please feel free to type it in the comment section below, and I'm really happy to answer. By the way, I think I will restart that though by I just forgot, I keep forgetting to put my Apple earbuds in so then I can actually accept live requests, which is a really good idea. G. Finley, 35, welcome. Let me know what country or city you're from. It's always fun. Yusuf, good to see you. Mohammed MXH, Augusta Nishikawa, good to see you again. Thanks, everybody. Viplav, suggest lens for beginner photographer that can cover a max range. Yes, what camera are you using, Viplav? If you could tell me that, that would be really helpful. Okay? Augustine Ishikawa from Sao Paulo, Brazil. I have some friends from Brazil, in fact, Sao Paulo, but I've never been there. Photon Travels, welcome Siddhartha, good to see you. Bracero Jorge, thanks. When is the best to use a tripod from G. Finley 35? I advise tripods when we're doing anything that's still and that requires time. So that would be, for example, whenever you're doing panoramics, whenever you're doing still life, whenever you're doing food photography, any type of studio work, portraits, and landscape photography. However, I don't advise it for travel photography, street photography, weddings, and anything, or sometimes sports photography, but usually not. Sports photographers tend to use what's called a monopod. That's a one stick. And the reason being is that they do want to have the stability, some form of stability, because they use long lenses. However, having a tripod is really cumbersome because if you can imagine like a NASCAR car driving past you, you need to be able to move around really quickly. And it's true that you can pan on a tripod, but it's just not convenient. So also bird photographers, wildlife photographers, they will usually use what's called a monopod, or if they are using a tripod, they'll use a gimbal tripod. And that's just a gimbal head that allows you to move your camera around in many different ways in order to get the shot, but still have a certain amount of stability in that picture. So yeah, that was a good question. I love talking about tripods. Okay, Sir Leanister joined. Welcome. Viplav says, I have a Nikon D5600 and I'm wondering what a good lens is for maximum range in being able to photograph subjects. So Viplav, usually what happens is that the longer the zoom range in a lens, the less quality you have. And so for example, let's just say that because I know that your camera is what we call an APS-C size camera. It's it's a cropped sensor. If you were to get, for example, say a 15 to 200, and I don't even know if Nikon makes that, to be honest, but let's just say you got a 15 millimeter to 200 zoom. The quality is not going to be as good because the zoom range is so long that they have to have a lot of different lenses inside to counteract and to deal with all of the distortion that usually happens with a long zoom range. Therefore, you're better off, if you have the budget for it, is to break that up into two purchases. The 15 to 55, or whatever range that would be, 14 to 55, would be your kit lens. That would be one lens. And then the 55 to 200 would be the second lens. And that would allow you to have less of a focal length range and potentially give you better pictures. Now, that's not always the case. It's true that Nikon and Canon make really good quality semi-professional lenses that have a long zoom range. However, it's usually the case that if you break that long zoom lens up into two lenses, then you will get a better image. Plus, you're usually getting what's called a faster lens or a wider open aperture. For example, it's quite possible that that really long all-in-one lens of 15 to 300 or 15 to 200, the lowest f-stop number could be f6.3. However, if you have those two lenses that I mentioned, the lowest f-stop number would be f5.6, which allows you to get a little bit better, allows you to shoot in darker environments a little bit better at using the same ISO. So just keep that in mind. But in all things, it's based on your budget really, because that if you wanted to get that all-in-one lens, there's nothing wrong with those, really. So I would say that I tend toward two lenses rather than one huge long one. Okay. Okay, let's see what else we have. Lloydify, welcome. Sarkel, and whenever I'm mentioning your Instagram names, I'm probably butchering them. I apologize. G. Finley, 35, thanks. Just ordered my Lumix DC FZ85. Well, that's good. Panasonic Lumix cameras have a very good reputation, and I'm sure you'll be really happy with it. Tea time. Alif Zaim, welcome my friend, good to see you. Alessandra, welcome back, always good to see you. Arindam, Andy, hey everybody. Is it possible to make a virtual copy in LRCC? So, LRCC does not have virtual copies, it's a different technology altogether. And what is happening is it's a duplicate. Now, if I'm mistaken in that, then I apologize, but I don't know if I could. I've never made a virtual copy. I've made an actual duplicate. Now this does cause a little bit of an issue because it is creating more space requirements on your hard drive or in the cloud. So Alessandra, I'm 99% sure that that LRCC does not do virtual copies, unlike Classic. So, but you know what I should do? I'm going to make note of that. And I'm going to make sure that I'm telling you what's accurate, because I should know better, because I use Lightroom Cc every day. Okay, virtual copy for Lightroom Cc. Excellent question, Alessandra. Okay. How Yao from Ratho Drudge S510. Okay, I'm not sure what that means, but if it's a greeting, then that's awesome. LSOFO PS, welcome. Okay, Arindam Andy. Hello, Mark. This is Andy from Tübingen, Germany. I just got the Nikon. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce Tübingen. I know that it's wrong. But I just got a Nikon D610 body. What should I buy as my first lens? What I want you to do, Andy, is write down in the comments section what your favorite genres are, okay? And that will help me a lot. So what do you like? What do you like to photograph? Maybe add 1 or 2 or maybe 3 photography genres that you enjoy doing. Add them in the comments section and I'll be able to help you. By the way, I'm sure you'll be happy with the D610. Okay, let's see what we have here. From Tutin Barui. Hi, Mark. Can you suggest a 55 to 200 millimeter zoom lens for the Fujifilm X-T4 or any other lens you recommend? Yeah, so the nice thing is that I've yet to find a Fujifilm lens that is a real disappointment. So what I would suggest, because you have the X-T4, and if you want to get into that longer zoom range, I actually use the, one second. I personally, on my X Pro 2, or on my X Pro 2 that I used to have, I use the 55, what was it called? Sorry, it was the 50 to 140 millimeter f2.8. That is an expensive lens. It's super sharp at all ranges and all f-stops. And because it's a constant f2.8, it's really good for nature, it's good for event photography, it's good for so many different things, but the problem is it's really expensive. It's almost as expensive as Nikon and Canon's 70 to 200 f2.8 cameras, or sorry, lenses. So that's the cream of the crop. However, you can actually get a 55 to 200 like you mentioned, and what else do they have? I think it's an f4 lens, And I definitely advise it, and the reason being is I've used it. In fact, my business partner, James Wilson, who we do our Italy photo workshops and our San Miguel de Allende photo workshops every year, he uses that lens, the 55 to 200. It's an f4, I think, and he loves it, and he takes it everywhere. So yes, I definitely suggest that, and it'll work great with your X-T4. So I would say go for it. Great question. Okay. Andy says, portrait and some landscape. Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so with regards to your desire to do landscapes, that's going to be wide. And your desire to portrait, that's going to be telephoto. Those are two ends of the spectrum. So what I'm suggesting for you is something like, I should probably, if I had a different screen here, I could quickly pop up Nikon's lenses, but you're looking for something in the range of a 15, let me think here, a 15 to 85. Now, I don't think that Nikon has anything like that, but it does have something very similar. So essentially, you're wanting a wide between 15 and 20. That's going to be, of course, because you have the crop sensor camera. You could go, let's just say the wide range would be anywhere from maybe 18 to 24 from the wide section of that zoom lens. And hopefully you can get up to like 100 or 120. Get one lens that covers that entire range, because you're going to be wanting to do the portraits at the 85, 90, 100, 120, or 115 range. And the reason being is that the more you zoom in, the better the background blur is behind the person who you're photographing. So that's really good for portraiture. And of course, for the landscapes, you're going to be using the wider end. So that would be the 18 millimeter end of that lens. So Andy, what I want you to do, this is your homework. I want you to go onto Nikon's website, and I want you to list out the lenses that are in that range. Let's say 18 to 120 or something like that. And then feel free to direct message me if you have options between 2 or 3, and I'd be happy to help you decide which is the better choice for you. Okay? The problem, it's a good question, but the difficulty is that those two are two extremes, portraiture and wide landscapes. It's really hard usually to get one lens that fits both of those, but I think that you can. Soterios, which camera would you suggest as a mirrorless to buy? So this is a really good question, and I really tend to advise the Fujifilm X-T200. And now this is a budget camera from Fujifilm, and it comes with a kit lens, the 15, what is it? The kit lens is, I think it's a 15 to 45 or something like that. I forget now, but it's a good kit lens. I used to have it. And it's a very good budget-priced camera, and you get a lot of value out of it because the quality is amazing. Now let's just say that you have a little bit more money in your budget and you can jump up. Then the X-T30 is an extremely good camera. And that also comes with the kit lens, and the kit lens is really good. So that would be my advice, those two. And the reason why I'm safe to say that is because I've used both cameras, and I used to own the X-T30 with the kit lens. In fact, if anyone wants to, I did a review on the X-T30 and the kit lens on my YouTube page, and that's Mark Hemmings Photography School. And if you just scroll down a bit, you're going to see the X-T30 review that I did in Italy last November. So I'll get you to check that out. Also, you may want to go to my YouTube page anyway, because all of these past Q&A sessions, I'm uploading them to YouTube, so you guys can keep coming back if you missed any. And I think they're quite valuable, because there may be some questions in them that you didn't get a chance to ask, or maybe you didn't even think about. Really good question. Excellent. Ma Amin 14 joined. Welcome. Photo Canuck, good to see you. Let me know where you guys are coming from. Marimi, welcome. By the way, if you've just joined and you haven't been on these Q&A sessions before, welcome. And feel free to add any comment or any question below. And it could be about apps, it could be about lenses, cameras, editing, anything that you want. I'm always happy to chat about them. Okay, hey everybody. Andy, D610 is full frame. Yes, you're right. It is a full frame. Okay. Okay, good. Good to know that. Hello from Germany. You know, it's interesting, Andy. I just got back into Nikon. I got the Nikon D780 a couple months ago. And I haven't really been able to make use of it because I got it just before the COVID crisis happened. And at that point, I was just after I got back from Mexico. So I wasn't really shooting anything. So to be honest, I haven't really used that D780 yet, and it's full frame as well. But I'm looking forward to getting out and using it. Amarimi, hello from Germany. Okay, Nikon Nick 9N has a kit lens. A Nikon has a kit lens, 18 to 140, that is very versatile. That's exactly what I was hoping for, Joseph, so thank you for that. So I'm just going to scroll back. And, okay, so Andy, what we see here is what Joseph mentioned is the 18 to 140, and that's what I was trying to think of, because I didn't really know what Nikon has currently in their lineup for such zooms, because I don't use them very often. But that will certainly give you the range that you need to get the portraits that you want. And in fact, if you go to 140, if you're doing a headshot and you're at the lowest f-stop number possible, we say wide open, then you're going to get some really great background blur. So that's probably what you want. And that 18 millimeter is going to do really well for you for your landscapes. Just make sure that you bring a tripod with you. And that's important, because whenever we're dealing with a lens that goes up to 140, the more zoom that we have in our lens, the more potential there is for camera shake. And that's just simply because we don't have, our hands aren't stable enough to be able to hold that level of telephoto, usually. Now, that's not true if it's blaring midday sun and it's super bright. That's okay, of course, you can handhold that. But as soon as the sun gets a bit dark or a cloud cover comes, it's usually best to have a tripod when we're up to the 140 range. And anyway, or some stable platform is usually best. Okay, so Tyrios. XT200 or XT30. Thank you, Mark. So yeah, I would advise that they're both really good, and that you simply buy it based on your budget, because the quality of the images are going to be identical, because I do believe, unless I'm grossly mistaken, but I do believe that they have the same sensor, the same chip, so you're going to get the same quality image. The XT30 has more bells and whistles. It's a bit tougher. And even though the XT30 is not weather sealed, it's probably going to last longer than the XT200. However, in saying that, because they both come with the kit lens, you're going to get pretty much identical pictures, and one is much cheaper than the other. In fact, I think it's much cheaper. So I would say it's entirely based on your budget. And I would certainly not ever be feeling less than to use the XT200. Although I will say that the XT30 has more dials on the top, which makes it a bit easier to use than the XT20. Okay, Alessandra, can you please suggest some street photography artists for us to study? Yes, certainly. What I will do is I'm going to write this down, and I'm going to actually make a list with actual @ names for Instagram, because a lot of them I don't even remember what their Instagram handles or names are, because unlike me, like my Instagram is @Mark Hemmings. That's super easy. But a lot of Instagram street photographers, or any photographers, they use other names or silly names, or their name plus 17 or something like that. So I'm going to look for that virtual copy for Lightroom, and I'm also going to look for Instagram, the people who I admire, and there's quite a few of them actually. Instagram. So I like this. Alessandra's giving me homework. This is good. I'm going to give all you guys homework too. Viplav, some tips for Lightroom CC, especially for RGB curve and histogram. Sure. I don't bother with histogram, even though I know that it's important to understand what it's there for. Usually what I'm doing is purely by sight, and because I use I use raw capture, then the histogram's not that big a deal for me. I just like to go by sight, and that's only because I've always done that. You know, I've been doing Photoshop for probably 18 years or 20, well, maybe 18 years now, I think. Now, with the RGB curve, and I'll be honest, I don't even bother with that either. Now, if anyone wants to know what the curves and histograms are, oh, sorry, yes, I do the RGB curves. But first, let me explain histograms to people. This is in camera, or you can also do this in your editing software, especially in Lightroom or Lightroom Cc, where you can adjust your exposure, both midtone, highlight, and shadow, by manipulating what looks like little mountains within a rectangle. Now let me clarify that VipLav 711. I actually, when I'm in a rush, I will use the histogram and the curves for doing a quick job at making the highlights and the shadows the way I want to. Like I'll just move the little triangles at the bottom so that they are classically lined up with the bottom of the two sides of the mountain. But really what I like to do instead is simply operate the highlight and white and shadow and black sliders. I find that I'm much quicker with them and I have better results, and that's purely taste. However, if you like to adjust color channels, like just reds, just greens, just blues, and within those curves, that histogram look, then by all means you should. But to be honest, I don't even bother using them. Now, the question may be then, how do I adjust color channels independently? Well, I don't use the curves. What I use is the selective color adjustments or color channel mixing within Lightroom Cc. And that's really good because what I can do is with it's sort of like a dropper. And one second. Within the color section, you have a little pinpoint crosshair, for lack of a better word, and you just place that over a color, like say for example, reds. And then I can adjust hue, I can adjust saturation and luminance. And luminance means brightness of just the red channel. And this is really effective. And I find it's really quick, and I find it a little bit quicker than the RGB curves or histograms. Now, if any of this is just going over people's heads, it's not critical, but it's a really good question from VipLav, and that's my response is I don't even use it because I love using channel mixing within that color section using my pinpoint, and I really like to know what that actual word is, or the name for that. It used to be called an eyedropper tool in Photoshop, but I think it's just simply a target tool. And I target just greens. I can adjust the hue of green, I can adjust the saturation of green, and the brightness, we call it luminance of the green. So VipLav, if that answered your question, awesome. If it didn't, feel free to ask more. Shahir, good to see you. I'm glad Photon travels. 18 to 55 is Fujifilm kit lens. Thank you. I keep forgetting the focal length of that. And that 18 to 55, when I tested it out in Italy, I shot everything on that Italy trip this past November, which you can see, by the way, here in my Instagram feed. Just scroll back to November, and everything was on that kit lens, and I was really, really impressed. Well, not everything. It was raining one day, pouring rain in Lucca, Italy, where we do our photo workshops, and I switched to my 23 millimeter because it was weather resistant, weather sealed. Rinaldi Nano, welcome. Let me know where you're from, and also if you have any questions, let me know. Working Pants, good to see you. Okay, I'm going to pop onto this question mark here. I find when I try to edit, it's not so good as the RAW. Yes. Are you referring to JPEGs? And if that's the case, Jane Jones, then yes, it's true. And if that is not your question, please add some more clarity because it's a really important question. What is the difference between RAW and JPEG? Especially, here's the thing, especially if you put two side by side on your iPhone or Android or your computer, you may not even see a difference. However, the difference is entirely based on how much latitude you have in your editing post-production workflow. The ability to stretch the image, the ability to alter its highlights, its shadows, its blacks and whites. Those are usually, like, could even be 10 times more ability to do radical editing alterations with a RAW photo than a JPEG. Of course, the problem with RAW is it's so huge, so it can take up space. So there's give and take there. It's all based on what you want. Okay, welcome everybody. Okay. Thank you so much, Mark and Joseph Corey. Happy to help out. Sorry, everybody, I'm just scrolling here. Images by Keith. Welcome. The Star Sower. That's a great name. Takumi, my friend. Yokoso. Photo Fun 1. Ali, cinematographer. Welcome, everybody. Let me know where you're from. What country? I'd love to hear from you. Okay, Tutin Barui. Which tripod would you suggest to go best with the Fujifilm X-T4, as I want to use it for night photography, and best lens from Fujifilm for night photography? Okay, I'm really happy to answer this. So if you're dealing with night photography, what you're going to want is a heavier tripod. So you don't have to break the bank on this. You can get, usually the expensive tripods are the lightest ones. So for example, carbon fiber is very light but very expensive. So what you can do is get cheap metal tripods. And that is really good because you're not worrying about weight. You actually want weight. Now, if you want even more weight, what night photographers and landscape photographers do all the time is they weigh their tripod down with their camera backpack full of gear, or they sling underneath the little hook underneath the tripod a bag of rocks. So just take an empty bag and just fill it with rocks or gravel or whatever, and that will weigh down that tripod. So to be honest, it doesn't matter what kind of tripod you buy, as long as you have a good strong ball head, and you can get those from Manfrotto or Gitzo or any of those companies. And it's more so the ball head. Make sure the ball head is good and strong, and it'll support the maximum weight of a heavy, big lens and your camera body. Now, Fujifilm bodies are really light. The X-T4 is light. However, you may in the future want to get some heavier lenses, and that's good. So you're going to spend more money on the ball head probably than the tripod legs. So don't worry about the tripod legs. It's not critical. Now, the next thing about the lens, I would suggest if you really want to get into night photography, you would get one of Fujifilm's Fujinon 1.4 lenses. Now, these are expensive, so I would definitely advise that you can get them used, and they have a couple different 1.4 lenses available, and I would get the widest one. And it just escapes me right now. I think it was what is it? Is it an 18 1.4 or is it a 23? Anyway, whatever wide 1.4 in the Fujifilm lineup, and you just go to their website, that's the one I would suggest. It just escapes me right now. And the reason why the 1.4 is great is you'll be able to capture the Milky Way without star trails. So if anyone wants to know, there's a couple ways to get night photography or astrophotography. One, with a wide angle. One is that you actually go past 30 seconds in your exposure by using your bulb setting, that's B. However, when you're past 20 or 30 seconds, you're starting to get shooting stars. Now, they're not real shooting stars. It's just because of the rotation of the Earth. The stars start to shoot or look like they're shooting in an arc. This is cool. It's really good. However, for those who really want to get that amazing Milky Way photo where the stars are not arcing across the sky, but they are crisp and clear, usually you're going to want an f1.4 lens. And I would advise anywhere between a 23 or 22 or 20 millimeter all the way up to a 50 millimeter f1.4. And anywhere in that range, you're going to get some really good night sky shots. Now, yes, you are going to have to jack up your ISO. You're going to have to use a tripod. However, with that type of speed in that lens, you're going to get some really cool shots, especially of the Milky Way, especially of the Northern Lights. If you're ever able to get up north, that would be really good. And don't forget, never be afraid of buying used, as long as it's from a reputable company, that is. Great question. Okay, Alessandro, what should we do after getting some rain or bad weather? Yes, so if you don't have any weather sealed gear, and of course Fujifilm makes weather sealed, so does Nikon and Canon. I'm not sure if Sony does, I'm sure they do. What I advise is that you still get out anyway by using those plastic covers for cameras, and they have a little Velcro opening for the lens, and everything else is covered under a clear plastic bag. They're super cheap. You can buy them online. If you don't have them at the camera store that you have near your house, get them on Amazon and get a couple of them and just throw them in your bag and get out to shoot. And the reason being is that the best photography is often during a rainstorm or just after a rain. Especially the greatest street photography that you can get by far is, well, not by far, sorry, I'm going to back that up. Amazing street photography can be done while it's raining or after it's raining. And the most amazing nature photography, the most amazing landscape photography right after that thunderstorm. These are wonderful times to get out to shoot. So definitely get that plastic bag. And I do know that B&H Photo has them, Adorama has them, and pretty much any Amazon seller has them. They're just plastic bags that go over your DSLR or your mirrorless. Now, if you are a iPhone shooter, doesn't matter. Your iPhone will do well even in huge storms. You can just take it out, get it wet. It doesn't matter. You can't submerge it more than like half an hour. Now, these are newer iPhones. As for the Androids, I don't know. I don't use an Android, so I'm not sure. That was a good question. Thank you. Ninja Gupta, welcome. Chris I. King, let me know where you guys are from, what country. Franco Solis. Nemethandria, welcome. Good to see you all. And if you're just joining for the first time to this Q&A session, let me know if you have any questions. I'm always happy to answer. No question is too silly or irrelevant. They're all excellent. Okay, let's see what we have here. Hi Mark, it's Rose. I dragged myself to take pictures today for practice. I'm not satisfied with the pictures, even after processing in Lightroom. This soured. Okay, here's the problem I just found out, Rose, is that, well, I found out about a week ago, is that when you ask questions in the question mark, it cuts off if it's a long question. Would you be so kind, Rose, as to finish your question in the comments section? And I'd be happy to help you. For some reason, Instagram doesn't allow like a question more than 5 sentences, which is really too bad. But I'm sure, Rose, I can help you. Okay. I'm just going to scroll here. Okay, 1 second. Have you, G. Finley, have you been to the Highlands in Scotland to shoot? No. But you know what? From what I've seen, and I saw Ewan McGregor's TV series, The Long Way Down or The Long Way Around, and it started in Scotland, I think, if I recall. And also, I saw a wonderful sports documentary on ultra runners going around Scotland, and that would be the perfect place for landscape photography because there's such dramatic, stormy skies, and I think that would be fabulous, and I would love to visit. Okay, we're from UK, living in Dubai. Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah, my experience in the Middle East is very limited, and I'd really like to be able to explore more soon. Annan Atale joined. Carl, welcome. Andy, please let us know when you next plan to go to Italy. Yes, Andy, so it's going to be November, and it's going to be in the Tuscany region. And if anyone is interested, and thank you, Andy, for bringing this up, I have a photo workshop with my business partner, James Wilson. And what we do is we teach photography live. We have a group of about 5, 6, 7, or 8 people. And we stay in a wonderful town called Lucca. That's Lucca. And we do day trips to Barga, which is the mountain village in Tuscany. And of course, Florence. And everyone loves Florence, and so do I. So that's coming up in November. And you can find that on my website, markhemmings.com. That's markhemmings.com. And of course, this is highly dependent on travel and COVID being a thing of the past. So as long as the Canadian government and the Italian government allow for travel and okay the travel, then I plan to be there in Italy this coming November for our Italian photo workshop. And love for all of you to join. And I really hope that that is possible. And we hope and pray that, that COVID is eradicated as quick as possible. Thank you, Andy. Mama Kate, welcome. The Habit of Seeing, good to see you. If you're just joining, ask me any questions below. Forest Hill Tea, good to see you. Things are going well, Forest Hill Tea. Yes, things are going very well considering. Here on the east coast of Canada, in my province, we had good news. We are massively on the decline. We've had no new cases, no deaths. In fact, we haven't had any deaths due to COVID. So it's a good day for celebrating. It was big on the news today. So we're happy about that. Hope all things are well. By the way, if anyone's interested, Forest Hill Tea, and it's a very simple Instagram, Forest Hill Tea, looks great. I haven't drank any of your tea, but if there's a tea lover out there in this group, then check them out. Okay, Alessandra says, I have a weather-sealed lens. Well, you're all set, Alessandra, and don't be afraid of making use of that. A lot of people get nervous, when they have a weather-sealed lens, like Fujifilm, it's called WR, and that's weather resistant, or I think that's what it's referred to. Canon and Nikon both have weather-sealed gear as well. I would say, if they're going to say it's weather sealed, then I'm taking that lens to its maximum, and I have. I've been out in rainstorms, just thunderous rain with my gear, and I just shoot as normal. One thing I will advise, Alessandra, and this is for everybody, is if your lens is weather sealed and your camera body is weather sealed, that you just use a UV filter, and that UV filter just allows you to wipe off your lens easily, because the water will get onto your front of your lens, and it's just, even though the front of the lens is weather sealed as well, it's just one extra level of protection, because you can use, let's just say that you don't have your lens cleaning cloth with you. You can just use like some fabric or something like that, like a sweater, while it's still raining. So a UV filter and you will be all set. Koyin Vas, is there any difference if you use expensive camera rather than the low-cost camera? Great question. So I'd like to answer this. This is a very good question, by the way. I'd like to answer this in aspect to the camera system that I know the best, which is Fujifilm. Now, this could very well be the case for other manufacturers, although I'm not too familiar with the other manufacturers, except I do have a Nikon D780. Now, most Fujifilm cameras, regardless of their price point, have the same sensor. We call it a chip, or the same sensor, and the same image processor. But what changes is the build quality of the camera and internal features and external features like dials and buttons and weather resistance. Okay, so when let's just say that you were thinking of getting a Fujifilm and you're wondering, what price point should I go all the way up the line before I know that I can get a good picture? Well, the nice thing is you can get a good picture with any Fujifilm X series camera, because most of them have the identical sensor in it. So what you're doing is when you're spending more money, you're often spending more money on extras. These are non-essential extras. Therefore, what I advise is you always stay within your budget, never go above your budget, never go into debt, and I can guarantee you, listen everybody, this is the key takeaway for today. If your camera is 5 years old or newer, your digital camera, you are set up for success. And the reason why I can say that is because when I go back, and here's an interesting fact. If you guys could write this down if you're taking notes. Take a look at the photo I just posted yesterday or 2 days ago in my Instagram feed when we finish this call. It's a photo of Tokyo. And this was taken way back with a D70, a Nikon D70. And way back then, the photo was really good, even though, my color balance was off. But I went back to the original RAW, and I was able to adjust the RAW amazingly well. And this is a very old camera. If your camera is 5 years old or newer, you have no problems getting excellent pictures with that. And another reason why I can guarantee that is because for a job I had to do 2 years ago, I had to buy the cheapest Rebel series camera possible. That's the Canon Rebel. I forget, it was a T7 something. And you know what? I got amazing photos out of that. The bottom of the barrel Rebel. I got some incredible photos from it with the kit lens. So don't be afraid. Get any camera that's within your budget and you will be doing really well. So then the further question is, when do I upgrade? Well, you upgrade only when that piece of equipment, that tool, is no longer serving you. If you feel like you're being held back creatively or artistically because of that tool, then that's when you get a better camera. So that would mean if you're into sports, you will realize, you know what, my Canon Rebel just isn't fast enough to capture the image of the race cars or the cyclists. Yes, then you're going to invest in a faster processor, a faster autofocus, a faster camera with faster shutters. That's very, very suitable. However, if you're getting great photos from what you have currently, then stay with it. Don't ever feel pressure to get the latest and greatest. Okay. Franco Solis from Nigeria. Welcome, Franco. It's good to see you. Photography by Susa. Good to see you. What do you recommend to get high quality photos from a smartphone? Yes, I advise the Lightroom Mobile CC app. That has a built-in camera. It's extremely good, and I advise that everybody use the if you're looking for landscapes or still life or food photography or nature with your smartphone, either iPhone or Android, I would suggest the Lightroom Mobile CC app. It's free. Now, if you shoot in RAW, I think you may have to pay, but you could probably shoot in RAW for free. I'm not sure. But in any case, if you flip the JPEG in the camera mode to RAW, called DNG, digital negative, then you're going to get stunning photos and the ability to edit those stunning photos. That's my advice for you. By the way, this is for everybody. That Lightroom mobile app is stunning. However, if you're using an iPhone 11, then I suggest that you'll get better results from your normal, we call it native camera. That's the normal iPhone camera, but that's the only exception that I know of so far. Good question. Because I know that there are many times when I don't have my DSLR on me. Yeah, definitely try out the Lightroom CC camera. And that's within the Lightroom CC app. Is it wise to buy a used lens? Franco says yes. Lenses hold their value. So for example, if you had to invest in either a used lens or a used camera, my tendency would be to buy the used lens because they hold their value, they stay strong, and they stay relevant. And the reason being is that the change in technology in lenses is much slower than the change in technology of camera bodies. So for example, a camera body can change year to year based on newer technologies of camera sensors and camera processors. However, the technology in lenses is very slow to change, and that's actually a good thing to maintain value in a lens. Therefore, you can feel confident about holding on to that lens for a long time and not needing to upgrade, or buying a used lens because that value is going to stay. So definitely, Franco, yeah, keep within your budget. Buy that used lens. And all you have to do really is just spend an hour. If you're buying used from a private person, just stay at their house or in the front porch shooting for an hour. And then take your card home with you, and then take a look at the pictures on your screen, then come back an hour later and buy it. Or sit in your car with your laptop just checking those photos. And if they look good on the edges, then you're all set. Or, take a friend with you, a professional photographer, just say, hey, look, I know you're a professional photographer. I'll pay you, $40 or whatever, or a flat of beer or something. And maybe can you come with me just to test out this lens for me? And usually professional photographers would be happy to help out. And finally, when you're looking at a lens, just open the aperture and look through it like a telescope, and just make sure that there's no dust spots inside the lens, and you should be all set. I love used lenses. It's a great thing. Keep the budget safe. This soured my mood. Any tips on how to handle frustrations over bad days and on how to get out of a rut? Rose. This is a great question, Rose, and I'm glad that you asked it. So whenever people feel frustrated because the photo that they took wasn't up to their standards, so they were hoping for more, and then when they were editing that photo, they got frustrated, what I want you to do is press pause on the editing and come back to it an hour later. So what I like to do is, okay, where is my happy place? Well, it's always either a hipster cafe or a relaxing cafe. And I just go there, and that's when I can get all of my creative work done because I'm, drinking a nice espresso or cappuccino and have good music playing, and I get into a good state of mind, a good vibe, a good mental place. And then I feel the creativity just really, really energizes myself, and I can actually edit photos better at a cafe than I can at my studio or my house. And why is that? It's purely psychological. So what's happening, Rose, is that you're editing you're trying to edit your photos out of a negative mental space. All you need to do is wait an hour, or wait tomorrow, or wait whenever. And here's the thing, I do appreciate that because we're in COVID crisis. Many of us are even daily struggling to get into our happy place because I don't have my cafes anymore. I have to make my own coffee, which is okay, but it's not the same. So I really suggest that you guys do your editing and do your creative work when you are in the zone. Maybe that's when everyone has gone to bed. Maybe that's when your kids are asleep. Maybe that's really early when no one else is awake. So I hope that helps. Also, Rose, if you want to show me that picture by direct message, you can just put it, direct message to my Instagram. I can take a look at it. You can send the before and the after. And I can't really do this for everybody because I get hundreds and hundreds of requests a day. But because this rings a bell, because it's the same for everybody, I feel like this picture is not going anywhere and I'm frustrated. I can guarantee you that if you're in a good mood, then everything in editing works better, and everything in photography too. Really, such a great question. You know what? When I'm doing these lives, I put my phone on silent, or do not disturb. Yet, I still get little things that pop up, and I have to work on that. Tutin Barui, hey Mark, what do you think about Ninja V Atomos, and how much is it useful during a photo shoot? You got me there, my friend. I don't even know what that is. So if you could actually teach me what the Ninja V Atomos is, I would appreciate it. Thank you. You got me. And I'm really happy that I'm learning something new. Franco, I'm watching from Nigeria. Is it wise to buy a used lens? Yes. And I think I already answered that. Definitely. Photography, Devin, welcome. Joseph, when I take a photo and I zoom in to see a pic, it's rarely sharp. I've recalibrated my lenses and on AFS. I've taken more than 15,800 pics with my camera. Does my camera need to be looked at via Nikon? Okay, so Joseph, when you are zooming in, are you referring to zooming in within looking at the picture in your camera, or are you talking about actual 100% looking at it on your computer using an editing app like Photoshop or Lightroom? The reason why there's a big difference there is you're going to get a more accurate look on your computer, especially a good size screen like a laptop or a computer screen. What I'll get you to do is do the common brick wall test. And it doesn't have to be a brick wall, but it can be, it could be wallpaper, to be honest. Even something, no, this is not good. I was going to say something like my daughter's drawing back here, but a brick wall is really good. And you're going to go to F8, you're going to go to aperture priority, you're going to go to ISO 100, use a tripod. And Joseph, this is your homework. I want to make sure that you take that brick wall, and then when you get it into your editing software, I want you to look at the center of the picture, the center brick, and judge its sharpness. And then I want you to go to the brick that's on the perimeter of your horizontal frame. And I want you to look at the quality of that sharpness. Further, what I suspect is happening is that within your picture profiles, your sharpness setting in your camera, in your Nikon, is set to 0. So what I'll get you to do, the second part of your homework, actually, let's flip that around. For the first part of your homework is to go into the picture profiles and the camera settings within your menu, and there's a part in there called image sharpness, or just sharpness. And usually you're going to have people jack that up. They're by default, they sharpen their pictures. Yours may be at 0. And if that's the case, I want you to jack that up all the way to a lot of sharpness and then do the brick wall test. Okay? And let me know how that turns out, because I really want to make sure you don't waste your money and your time by sending your camera to Nikon, because that does take an age to get back. And if you can solve that problem internally, then I'll be very happy for you. Okay, great question. What is the best abstract photography techniques? Yes, I love that question. What I'm going to get you to do is write this down, or this will be on my YouTube page later on tonight, Mark Hemmings Photography School YouTube. This is what you need to do. I want you to go to aperture priority. I want you to go to your lowest ISO possible. For most cameras, that's ISO 100 or ISO 200. I want you to go to your highest f-stop number possible. Most camera lenses, that's f22. Okay? So far, so good. Then in your exposure compensation, I want you to go to plus 0.7 or plus 1. That part there is adjustable, by the way. It's not critical. Then I want you to take your camera and I want you to shake it. And then take the picture while you're shaking your camera. But before that, I forgot to mention your lens should be in manual focus, okay? And then you're going to get some pretty cool abstracts. Not only is the shaking good, but if you're in a forest and you have trees, do vertical panning like this. Do it quickly, and take the picture while you're shaking your camera vertically. Let's do the same thing horizontally. These are cool abstracts. Then do rotation. And by the way, I do all of these in, I hope this isn't too salesy or sales pitchy, but I teach the abstract, how to get these abstract photos in my online course called Digital Camera Mastery, which can be found at my website, markhemmings.com. That's www.markhemmings.com. So my friends, it looks like I have 1 minute 48 seconds remaining, says Instagram. So I'm going to try to burn through these last questions because I don't want to miss anything. Okay, I already got Franco's question. And let's see, is it really required for purchasing a tripod? No. But here's the thing, is that you can get, like here in Canada and the States, we can get cheap tripods from Walmart or wherever, and they could be like $40. They're made of plastic. Doesn't matter. A tripod is a tripod, but what does matter is putting weight on that tripod. And that's why they often have hooks underneath so that you can weigh down that cheap plastic tripod with rocks or a camera bag. What's more important than the legs is the tripod head. That's where you want to invest money. Okay, let's see what else we have. I live in India, says the cryptic. I'm always happy to see my Indian friends. I have 52 seconds. Let's see what else we have here. And for those who, please come back tomorrow if I didn't get a chance to get to your question. How to set my Android phone camera to DGM to take raw pictures. Yes, go to the professional setting within Lightroom Camera mobile app. You'll see it. In the camera, there's two options. There's professional, there's automatic. I have to say bye to everybody. I have 20 seconds left. I don't want to cut you off. Come back tomorrow. Bring your questions. I hope you all have an excellent day, and God bless you all. Talk soon.